I'm Performance Coach Gage Batten here with my athlete Oscar Allen, and today we're going to be teaching you the ins and outs of the 40-yard dash out here on the practice fields at the University of Miami. Things to consider before administering this test is purchasing laser timing equipment. This is going to give you the highest level of validity and accuracy. And if you do have hand timers, try to have multiple timers per event. Another thing you want to consider is, does this test measure what you want it to measure for? This is a test used to measure speed, primarily in American football players. The ideal location to perform this test is exactly where we're at, right here on a football field. If it's turf or grass, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it would be good for you if it's already pre-marked. And if you follow me to our start line, you'll see that we put our left and right boundary cones right along the tick marks on the sidelines. This is how it's going to be performed at the NFL Combine. And the tick marks give us a great landmark for our athletes to have a landmark to run straight on. The equipment you're going to need to administer this test is 4 cones, 2 to mark the left and right boundaries at the start and 2 to mark the left and right boundaries at the finish. You're also going to need a device capable of measuring 40 yards if the field is not already pre-marked for you. You're going to want 1 hand timer per performance coach unless laser equipment is available to you. Some safety considerations for your athletes is to make sure that their footwear matches the surface, that they've gone through a proper warm-up, and there's plenty of room to decelerate after the finish. You also want to make sure the field is not too slick, if that may become an issue, because we will be starting this test from a 3-point stance. Now that we've gotten through the intro and some of the setup procedures, the first thing we want to do before we start teaching technique is make sure our athlete is all the way warmed up. So right here I'm going to take my athlete Oscar through a dynamic warm-up. The exercises will be attached at the bottom. Let's go over the mechanics of the start now that we've got the administration stuff out of the way. The first thing we tell our athletes to do is to step up and take all the line. This means that there's no space between the athlete's toe and the line. The next thing we do is we tell our athletes to go toe to instep, toe to instep. This ensures the athlete has the proper distance away from the line. The next thing we do is we tell our athletes to fall all the way forward. This ensures proper loading mechanics because we are not track athletes, we're not starting in blocks. We tell our athlete to walk backwards, and as he walks backwards, he's going to put his hand of the leg further back on the line with no space. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our athletes to load in a comfortable but uncomfortable position with a great 45-degree shin angle. And we want our back flat with our butt set. After your athlete explodes out, make sure he considers these 2 things that are important. That he runs 5 yards to the line and stays in a straight line. These are imperative to good results. I'm at the finish of the 40-yard strip to discuss the administration, scoring, and timing aspects of this test. When scoring and timing this test, you want to make sure that you are in the same exact plane as your athlete looking down the line vertically. This is going to ensure you give your athlete the most accurate time. The next thing you want to consider is that when you're timing, make sure your athlete has a 2-second pause at the start. If the athlete does not pause for 2 seconds, the test is invalid and must be performed over again. The next thing you want to do is remind your athlete to finish 5 yards to the line. This is going to ensure that you give him the best chance to succeed.
Going over the